Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode in our TNA series. It is officially the go-home episode of Impact 4, the Knockouts Knockdown event, and we've got some segments happening tonight. It's going to be an interesting layout for Impact tonight. We're definitely focusing a lot of our promos on the event happening in just a couple days. The Knockouts Knockdown event, in the fact that pretty much I think except for a couple of angles, all the angles are basically revolving around that event. There are no women's matches here tonight on this episode of Impact, strictly because I didn't want to run the risk of somebody getting injured, because pretty much most of the women on the roster are going to be getting used at that event, including some of the women that are brought in for the Women's World Cup coming up. So, gonna kind of put a little bit of focus on building that up tonight. But we dive into the action. We have a little video kind of recapping this stuff, your typical Impact intro, and then we get into a video package kind of with Alice in Danger appearing on screen, hyping up the Knockouts Knockdown event in just a couple of days' time, running down some of the matches, including the finals of the Knockouts Tag Team Title Tournament, running down the Mickie James versus Angelina Love match, and of course the big main event of that show, the Knockouts Championship match featuring Gail Kim defending the Knockouts Championship against Madison Rayne. After this, we have a match featuring Bobby Lashley and MVP defeating the Von Erichs in 9:23 when MVP pins Marshall Von Erich with a running big boot. MVP head and shoulders above everybody else. Yeah, just a pretty dominant victory for Bobby Lashley and MVP here over the Von Erichs. Lashley and MVP continuing to try to establish themselves in the tag team division, since it's MVP's only way to wrestle right now, according to the board of directors. So, kind of running with that there. 56 rating for this. Yeah, not too bad of a matchup. After that, we get an Angelina Love interview with Jeremy Borash, where she kind of talks about her history in TNA, all the extended amount of time that she's been here in TNA since the beginning, her history with the Knockouts Championship, being one of only 3 Knockouts to be a 5-time champion. Of course, the other 2 being Tara, that is, and the challenger for the Knockouts Championship at Knockouts Knockdown, none other than Madison Rayne. She kind of talks about what being on the show means to her, how it's kind of a big moment for someone like her, because, it's all-female event, so it's kind of a big deal in her mind and in her eyes over. And then, of course, talking about the matchup with Mickie James, having this one-on-one matchup with Mickie James where, Mickie James has to win this matchup in order to keep her championship rematch against Gail Kim. But for Angelina Love, nothing's been confirmed yet. But nothing's been confirmed, but she would like this to be, maybe she defeats Mickie James, maybe that gets her the next shot at the Knockouts Championship. So, hasn't been confirmed that it's like a number 1 contenders match at this point, but she's kind of hoping that something will happen out of it to kind of develop that. After that, we then have a Beautiful People interview with Joey Styles, where they kind of talk about the history of the group in TNA. Of course, Velvet Sky, the remaining member of the remaining founding member, that is, of the group. Well, of course, to be fair, it was just Velvet and Angelina, but still, just talked about how she's been with the group at, the whole time, even with Madison Rayne coming and going, and Lacey Von Erich coming and going, and then Angelina Love leaving the group, and Brooke coming in, and all that stuff. She kind of talks about that. Velvet kind of talks about her history with championships here, being a former Knockouts Tag Team Champion as well as a former Knockouts Champion, so she has held both of the championships that the Knockouts can claim here in TNA. Kind of talks a little bit about, they both kind of talk a little bit about the future of the group here in TNA, how they plan to become Knockouts champions and continuing to dominate here in TNA. They talk about the championships themselves, what it means to kind of bring them back to the forefront, make it where they can have them consistently on the line again and all that. They kind of talk about the event itself, kind of running down what it means to them to be on the show like this. And then they kind of talk about their opponents at the event as they are taking on Team Kick in the finals, and kind of put over the fact that they could not ask for a easier matchup in the finals of this tournament because Team Kick are nobodies compared to the Beautiful People, and that the Beautiful People should easily be able to beat Team Kick with no problems whatsoever. After that, we get a nice one-on-one matchup here featuring Eric Young defeating Harry Smith in A42 by pinfall with a spiked pile driver. Two different members of tag teams here in TNA going at it in singles action, and Eric Young getting the victory. 57 for Eric Young, 52 for Harry Smith, 62 rating for the match, which is really good. Good stuff there. Is a nice little matchup here in front of 9,636 people at the Selland Arena in California. Like I said, some of the matches on the show do have actual story to it, but some of them don't. Like this match here, it's just, wanted to get some matches on the card that would be interesting to see, that you wouldn't normally see. Especially where we're putting some of the stories a little bit on the back burner for the moment. After that, we get, I didn't realize Allison Danger was a road agent for this, but all right. We get a interview with Mike Tinay where Madison Rain is being interviewed, and she's talking about her time in Impact. She has a gimmick that's getting stale, so I have to remember that. She talks about her time here in Impact so far, about how she's grateful for the opportunity she's had here in Impact Wrestling, how she's grateful for being one of the bigger names in the Knockouts division ever since she's come here and quickly risen to the top of the division. She kind of talks about the event itself. A lot of generic talk about the event from everybody who's being interviewed tonight. Just kind of talking about what being on an all-female event like this means to them, kind of thing. Obviously, in this world, there's Shimmer still around and all that stuff, but this is kind of a bigger scale thing. This is one of the first times that it's going to be like on an actual live pay-per-view kind of thing. So, Madison Rain kind of talks about trying to become the first ever 6-time Knockouts champion. She kind of talks about the prestige of this matchup, taking on somebody who's, the two of the biggest names in the Knockouts division going at it with each other in this matchup. And of course, kind of talks about Gail Kim herself, talks about how Gail Kim's a legend in this business and how she would consider it an honor she's going to consider it an honor to face Gail Kim, and she's going to consider it an honor when she defeats Gail Kim for her record-setting 6th Knockouts championship reign. So, nice little thing there from her. 61 rating for it. Not too bad. Then after that, in tag team action, kind of going over the X Division Championship storyline a little bit here. We've got Paul London and DJZ, the two opponents of each other at Final Resolution for that X Division Championship. Teaming up to defeat Sheldon Benjamin and Kenny King in 11:48 when Paul London pins Kenny King with a shooting star press. Sheldon Benjamin was they ended up having this matchup over, and Sheldon Benjamin could go and pick anybody who he wanted as a partner. He didn't really want anybody, but Kenny King came up to him and asked for the match anyway. This happened on an Explosion this past Saturday, and so that's what this ended up happening. Kenny King was a weak link. Not great showing from him, but 66 from Benjamin, 68 from DJZ, 68 from Paul London, and the match itself got a 71, which is really good. Really good matchup there, as London and DJZ kind of showed that they could work together a little bit. But to be fair, in a couple of weeks' time, they're going to be going at it for that X Division Championship, so they may be able to work together and be on the same page now, but is that is that respect there between the two of them going to continue when they have that matchup with the X Division Championship on the line in just a few weeks' time? After that, we then get a interview with Joey Styles interviewing April Mendez and Rosemary. Both of them, again, being respectful about what this event means and what it means to them for being here in Impact Wrestling. before they kind of get a little sarcastic with each other, and then a little, verbal shots, I guess, so to speak. Not a little verbal shots, not the correct grammar there, but they start delivering a few verbal shots back and forth towards each other. Essentially, kind of with Mendez promising to make Rosemary pay for that missed attack that she had to suffer recently, and Rosemary promising to take Mendez to the Shadow Realm and leave her there. So, kind of an interesting little way to hype up that matchup, which kind of seems like it was kind of an out of nowhere match featuring these two. But originally the story for this match was simply April Mendez is trying to continue up the ladder in the Knockouts division, so to speak, and Rosemary is somebody who she could, nothing against the people she's faced before, but Rosemary's kind of the first really bigger threat that she's had, because Rosemary has been here for a while here in Impact, and she's quickly been rising up the ranks here in the Knockouts division. So this is kind of her first really big test, so to speak. But kind of went from that to the missed attack a few weeks ago, and then now this interview that kind of really helps hype up something there. Not super well hyped up, but at least a decent story between the two for this match. And he got a 65, which is not bad at all. Can't go wrong with that. After that, we have a non-title matchup in which the American Wolves defeat Red Dragon in 10-23 when Davey Richards submits Bobby Fish with a 14:59. 75 rating for the matchup, which is really good as well. My God. 48 from O'Reilly, 48 from Fish, that is, 47 from O'Reilly, 80 from Edwards, 71 from Richards. Black Friday Management, Homicide, and Loki came out to kind of stare down the Wolves during the matchup, but they didn't get involved in the match at all. So they just kind of were sitting there watching them and then left before the end of the match. So kind of not really much of an interaction with them, but just kind of letting them know that they're watching them ahead of their tag team title matchup at Final Resolution. After that, Team Kick now have an interview where they talk about their time in the wrestling business so far, about how they've only been in it for a short amount of time, but they are very appreciative of being in it so far. They talk about how great the opportunity is to be here in TNA, especially this early in their careers. They kind of talk about the Knockouts Tag Team Championship match at the event, kind of talk about the fact that it would be huge for these relative unknowns, Evie and Nixon Newell, to win the Knockouts Tag Team Championships, especially against a team like the Beautiful People, before they kind of talk about the Beautiful People themselves. I talk about how Velvet and Brooke are big names in the wrestling business themselves, about how they how a lot of people kind of automatically boo someone like Velvet Sky, but she's done quite a bit in the wrestling business herself to be respected. Kind of putting over the fact that they acknowledge that it's going to be a tough fight. They know that it's going to be a hard fought match against the Beautiful People at Knockouts Knockdown, but that they are looking forward to the challenge. So, interesting bit of words there before that matchup happens. Kind of weird, because maybe it just didn't stay like that, but I put everybody's opponents in these segments as off-screen ones, and for some reason nothing is really showing up on there, so it's not advancing any stories, which is kind of annoying. Actually, I guess it did advance the one, I think, but like for this one, I put the Beautiful People being off-screen, so that would advance the Knockouts Tag Team Title Tournament storyline, but apparently it didn't want to, so whatever. After that, we get Veda Scott standing by backstage with Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode kind of talks about how he's still suffering in a lot of pain, or still not suffering in a lot of pain, but he's still suffering some soreness from the Wall Street fight at Turning Point, but that he's definitely not done with James Storm, especially because he will not let James Storm be the better man in their battle with each other, in their war with each other, that is. However, tonight, he doesn't get a chance against Cowboy. He gets a chance. He goes one-on-one with Jay Lethal, and he promises to make Lethal hurt and make him be a martyr for what he's going to be doing to James Storm in the near future. Lost some heat with the storyline, but that's because, Veda still got to get that popularity up, and it's only a 53 rated segment, but I'll still take it. It's fine. The match between Roode and Lethal only gets a 57, which is really disappointing. They don't click at all, so that hurt. But Bobby Roode getting a victory in 12:41 over Jay Lethal by pinfall to payoff. Roode obviously kind of showing some suffering, showing that soreness throughout the match, but he was still able to get the victory. 57 rating is what it is, and we kind of move on from there. After that, we get an interview with Mickie James. I'll see that one advance the story. We got a Mickie James interview with Jeremy Borash where she talks about her history in helping make women's wrestling what it is today. Her time here in TNA so far as well, being a part of the Knockdown event, talking about the Knockouts Championship and what means she will go to get that championship back around her waist like she deserves to have because she's the queen of the Knockouts. And then talks about the match with Angelina Love, how she used to like Angelina Love because, she was part of the Beautiful People and she actually didn't buy into the bullshit that the fans continue to spew, but that now she's changed and now she's not a fan of Angelina Love, so she has no problem beating her at Knockdown to get her rematch for the Knockouts Championship. So kind of some obvious egotistical answers from Mickie James during this interview, kind of claiming how she's the one who made women's wrestling what it is today and nobody else, including somebody who has, whose career was only put on the map because of her, like Gail Kim and all that. So kind of putting over the fact that she is the sole reason why women's wrestling is what it is today, which obviously is not true, but it's Mickie James being, the queen of the Knockouts, so she's going to sell it as is. Interesting interview here. Got a 57. Can't go wrong with that. After that, we had a big time matchup. This match was it was supposed to have a segment earlier in the show, and then I ended up having to take it out for time restraints. But it was supposed to be essentially it wasn't like a segment as in like they were supposed to have an argument on or anything like that. It was supposed to be just a video that was going to announce the fact that this was a matchup happening tonight. So in a non-title matchup, Johnny Impact and Samoa Joe were going at it. Of course, this is coming off of a couple weeks ago when Samoa Joe choked out Johnny Impact after the tag team matchup that they had. So they ended up having a one-on-one matchup here tonight. And in 12:47, Johnny Impact gets the disqualification victory over Joe because Christopher Daniels, of all people, ran in and attacked Johnny Impact. Now, granted, Daniels is associated with Samoa Joe, but we still didn't expect Daniels to come running out and attacking Johnny Impact during this. It's still kind of a surprising moment. It's like, why is Johnny Impact being attacked by Christopher Daniels? Like, Christopher Daniels has his issues with Kazarian. He has, he's had his issues elsewhere. So is he coming out here to help out because Samoa Joe is part of the Black Friday management group, or does he have ulterior motives behind this? We're not sure. Lack of psychology on display for this matchup, but it still turned out to be a really good matchup. 82 from Impact, 74 from Joe. 82 for the match overall. Good stuff there. Sorry, I apparently decided to start getting the hiccups right then. Ow. Black Friday management continue attacking Johnny Impact after the matchup. Christopher Daniels goes for Angel's Wings, for the Angel's Wings on Johnny Impact, but Kaz runs out to try to make the save. Kaz tries to fight off tries to fight off Christopher Daniels, and Samoa Joe essentially, but then Loki and Homicide come running down, and suddenly it's a 4-on-1 beatdown, and they get left laid out on the canvas. Daniels then hits the Angel's Wings on Johnny Impact this time before grabbing the TNA World Heavyweight Championship and lifting it up in the air. Camera then shows Magnus up on the stage, watching everything play out with a smirk on his face before going back to showing Daniels lifting that World's Championship up in the air. So, interesting things from this segment here. Black Friday Management putting the beat down on the World's Heavyweight Champion right now. Kaz tried to make the save, but of course could not. No idea where the Wolves were. You would think the Wolves would have came out to try to make the save too, but apparently they just weren't showing up for this segment, so that's going to be interesting to see why that was a thing anyway. Yeah, we saw Magnus, the challenger, the number one contender, the challenger at Final Resolution for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, kind of standing there with a smirk watching the current champion, Johnny Impact, getting beaten down. So did Magnus orchestrate this? Is he just glad to see this happening? We're not sure. Obviously, Christopher Daniels making his intentions clear that he wants the TNA World Heavyweight Championship with this, so is he going to make sure that Johnny Impact keeps the championship at Final Resolution? Is he fine with whoever wins it, so that way he could take it from him? Like, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions left to be answered with this, but nevertheless, Magnus is happy that Johnny Impact has been beaten down, and that and Daniels is standing tall with the TNA World's Heavyweight Championship, so we'll have to see what that means in the near future for that. After that, we get a 67 rated interview. Could have been better if Gail Kim, or if Allison Danger had not been road aging it. I think I have to go look at Allison Danger's stats. I might have mentioned this before, but I think I have to go look at her stats because I feel like her road agent stats should be higher than they are. Not like, not incredible. It's not like she's an amazing road agent. But she'd been running Shimmer for quite some time, so I feel like she would have some experience as being a road agent. Nevertheless, Gail Kim has an interview with Mike Tinay where she talks about her history in this business as well, kind of talks about how she started off as kind of a relative nobody in this business, ended up with a contract with the company up north, kind of became a bit of a name there, including winning championships there before deciding that she wanted to not to be a part of that anymore and left to TNA, where she clearly became a legend in TNA. First ever TNA Knockouts champion, multiple time Knockouts champion at this point. This is her current reign is her fourth reign with the championship. All the different legendary moments that she had in TNA and all that. Talks about the prestige of the Knockouts Championship, about how she feels like after holding other championships, she feels like it's the greatest championship that a female can hold in this business today. Talks about the event itself, really puts over the fact that this event means a lot for not only just TNA, but for women's wrestling in general. And then she talks about her opponent for the Knockouts Championship at Knockouts Knockdown, Madison Rayne. She talks about how Rayne could make history with being a 6-time Knockouts champion with this matchup, but at the same time, Gail Kim could really help cement this title reign of hers by defeating Madison Rayne, and potentially we're having to defeat Mickie James in the future and all of that. So kind of really putting over the fact that she really plans to make this Knockouts title reign a really memorable one. Then after that, we get our main event of the evening. This was set up, it was also supposed to be set up by that video angle. I really should not have deleted that out of there. Honestly, I thought I had done a separate segment for it, and this ended up happening. So I will accept messing up on this one. But this was supposed to be highlighted. This was supposed to be announced earlier in the show as well as the main event, because this is continuing on the whole Mr. TNA Gauntlet thingy. This was Chris Saban getting another TNA legend to have to go up against this one obviously being Kurt Angle. And in an exceptional matchup, an 82 rating, Chris Saban defeats Kurt Angle in 1723 by pinfall with a cradle shock following interference from EC3, who came out and cost Kurt Angle the matchup. 88 from Angle, 76 from Saban, 82 rating for the match overall. Good stuff there. Lack of psychology, which is weird because it's Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle has amazing psychology, so I'm not sure why there was a lack of psychology there, but whatever. But 82 rating for this main event itself, AJ Styles was watching at ringside, and after the match, Kurt Angle chases after EC3, chases him out of the arena. As Chris Saban goes to celebrate, only to turn around and be face-to-face with AJ Styles. Saban gets cocky and kind of mocks Styles, does his whole, hands out pose thing and all that, kind of, mocking him a little bit. Before he gets struck with a series of forearms from AJ Styles, Saban gets sent off the ropes, but quickly grabs them and slides to the outside, trying to point to his head, saying as if he's smarter than that, only to turn around into a big suicide dive from AJ Styles, diving through the ropes to knock Chris Saban out down on the outside, that is. Saban gets grabbed and thrown back into the ring before Styles gets up on the apron and connects with that springboard 450 splash he's so famous for. He then stands there as the crowd's going crazy by this display before Saban gets picked up and gets hit with the Styles Clash. Styles then stands over the prone body of Chris Saban to end Impact. So kind of getting some retribution after what happened last week. Of course, last week Saban left AJ Styles laid out on the canvas. This week, Styles was able to return the favor. Obviously, this is going to be building to a rematch between these two men at some point in time, but we will have to see when that ends up happening. But right now, it seems like they're more focused on trying to make the other person have to continue to run this gauntlet idea or continue to have it do what they do at this point. Nevertheless, Impact Wrestling ends, or TNA Impact that is, ends with AJ Styles standing tall over the laid out Chris Saban. Rating for the show itself gets a 79, increasing popularity in 22 regions. Good stuff there. Pretty good show regardless. I was hoping for a little bit better ratings for some of the interviews and whatnot, but I think that's simply just because some of those knockouts don't have the greatest popularity in the world. And same with I only use Borash for a couple of them because Borash doesn't really have a lot of great popularity right now. That's why I pulled Mike Tinay and Joey Styles to do some of them. But yeah, it's a good way to kind of hype up the event. So as of right now, the Knockouts Knockdown event, which will be the next episode in this series, it will be featuring the matches that we're kind of going over here tonight, as well as a few other matches. I didn't get a chance to announce it on this show, but the losers of the semifinal matches in the Knockouts Tag Team Title Tournament, the Lucha Sisters and then Cheerleader Melissa and Madison Eagles, will be going at it at the event, with the winners becoming the first, I guess, number one contenders for the tag titles. Whoever wins that match will be the first ones up for the new champions, essentially, is what I meant by that. Outside of that, we also have, so I'm trying to get to my notes really quick here. Yeah, so those are the big five we have announced for the show right now. Angelina Love and Mickie James going at it 1-on-1. April Mendez and Rosemary, the Beautiful People taking on Team Kick for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. Cheerleader Melissa and Madison Eagles taking on the Lucha Sisters. And then, of course, the big main event, Gail Kim, Madison Rayne for the Knockouts Championship. There are going to be a couple of other matches happen on the show, but I just haven't determined exactly who's taking on who in it. We're going to see a couple of Women's World Cup preview matches featuring some of the women from the Women's World Cup going at it. We'll also see basically everybody that's on the current TNA Knockouts roster will be in action on that show. So it may lead to, some six woman tag matches or something like that, but that'll will happen there. Of course, Veda Scott and Maurice will be the commentators for that show. Allison Danger will be the road agent / authority figure. And then I have somebody who I'm bringing in who has I went looking to see if I could find anybody I could hire, any female I could hire that has any refereeing skills whatsoever, and I found one person. So she's going to be brought in. It's not really a spoiler because you're not really going to see much from the referee, but it's Melissa Coates, who, if you know who that is, you know who that is. She's, I think it really, unless you really know who that is, over her best acknowledgement to date is she was a manager. She's been somewhat recently manager of Sabu on the Indies when he was running around over. She was the genie for him. She also was on the first 2 seasons of the Game Show Network show Extreme Dodgeball when that was a thing, if anybody remembers that at all. So she's gonna be the referee for us because, again, there was just nobody with referee skills. And her referee skills is only a 36, so it's going to be rough referee wise. But I'm not expecting a lot of high ratings for the show. As you saw, the event itself, I was looking at the pre-booking stuff just then, the event itself is set as a lesser event. It's not supposed to be a big event. It's not going to be one that's going to just, send us to the moon when it comes to popularity stuff, but it'll be good to have it. It'll be good to have it. Rating wise, really quick, 79 rating for the show, highest rated show on the night of the night, and obviously the most viewed show of the night, almost 1.5 million viewers. I have considered for this series movie nights, just so we could have an actual competition thing. But the problem is that we can't go up against WWE right now because WWE is still killing it when it comes to their ratings. And I don't really see, well, I guess technically we're going up against NXT, but I don't really see any other ones that on a consistent basis that we could go up against. So, we'll be sticking on Thursdays for now in the game, and we'll kind of play it out in the future. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully you guys are excited for the Knockouts and Knockdown event to happen in this series. And we will catch you guys all next time.